This this is Joseph Andrew Jensen Sr. I'm going to hold this in my lap because I'm not satisfied about my voice getting through enough. And the other thing is, I'm not satisfied with the way it looks. And I have an explanation, and it's something I got to figure out. Um, why am I the only one? Why is the God in me and I the only one that seems to want to be heaven on earth? This is not going to work. It's too much there, so I'm going to have to set it down. Okay, this is my question. And it's still now, but why am I the only one that knows that wants heaven on earth? Why am I not able to get through to the people of this world? Why have my family left me? My wife left me. My friends have left me, and this is a hard sell. This is, I almost feel like stopping, but I won't because I know there's people out there haven't heard this God's message. So I don't know how many of you really want heaven on earth. I shouldn't have to explain what heaven's all about. I shouldn't have to explain uh, that God's coming. That God's coming back. The Christians been looking for the rapture. They've been looking for the heaven. Would you think that you're going to love to go to another place with crystal rivers for things and live the rest of your life without children? Well, you can't have children in heaven, of course. You earned heaven to be alone, solitary confinement. Yes, you earned it. You could sit there with your buddies and your friends and your neighbors and all those church members together, and you could sit there for the first 1,000 years together. But and believe me, when you get to 1,000 years, you're nowhere uh, close to the rest of the time. It's eternity. So when you're so happy in that beautiful palace and that beautiful place, and you can't have children, this is what that you're leaving this world for, and you want. This world's got to be insane. And if you didn't want into this game, like I didn't ask to get into this game, I guess, of life and immortality, guess what? You have no choice. You're in it. You was born. Your parents were in it. Your grandparents were in it. Your parents, all the way back to your ancestors. You joined life, and you've been enjoying life. Now you're complaining because you're living. Does that make sense at all? It doesn't comprehend with me. I'm autistic, and I just question everything since I was a young child. But this is incomprehensible to me and so disrespectful. Even to God, having to convince God to bring heaven on earth because of the Cold War that was created by us not acknowledging God but walking over God, holding us basically hostage. And how many people in this real world really realize this? Now, God's coin shouldn't be hard to get to everybody because we're just handing it to you. Now, what I want to tell you what God's coin means. It doesn't mean prison. It doesn't mean handcuffs. God's coin's even not there to hold over your head, like say, if you do anything wrong, you're going to lose your God's coin. They'll get it back. They do their time, they do their thing, and they'll get it back. It's not going to happen to everybody in the family either. It's going to be for the idiot that decides to do something wrong, do something stupid. We're going to hold him for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. No. This long enough, it could be uh, uh, 24 hours. long enough that they understand the position they're in. It could be off with a warning. Even if they did something really stupid, it could just be off with a warning. Why? Because they understand the power that people, the population of the world, in every country, every the population of the entire country of 18-year-olds or older will have the say so over your life, and it's up to them to decide your fate. Why would we want to feed you every day and put you in jail and be the potential when you're going to see what you're up against? You see what I'm saying? I'll plead your case. I'll be there to plead your case and says, okay, you did a very bad thing or you tried to do a very bad thing, but when you did this, did you realize? Now do you realize what kind of position you're in? You're accountable for killing. You're accountable to the whole nation, your whole nation. If you kill somebody, you're accountable to your whole nation if you do something wrong. Are we going to take away your God's coin if you don't worship? No. God's not going to force that either. He's not demanding worship. He's demanding recognition. That's the biggest form of worship. In fact, going to churches, going to that to worship, is a fine, great thing, as long as you're not doing it to become the holier thous and try to gain leverage and support by other gods. You understand what I'm saying? Or make outward things. This worship is not exactly what God had in mind. He wanted us to live life. Live life. You guys will party. You guys will spend. But more importantly, you'll invent. You'll build businesses, all furnished to labor. God's living ministry will furnish the labor. The people will vote on the decisions of people, how long they bear punishment. They won't be like thrown in prison because they can't get away with anything. You're surrounded by martial artists. You're surrounded by people that know how to use guns, people that are ready to support the police. They're not going to kill you either, but they may hold you up. You might be shot in your hands and feet, but you're not going to lose your life. You gained your life. That's what God's will will be. It shouldn't have to come to that. No, war shouldn't come to that. But when you got the votes of everybody in the world, your countries will be free. If you're in a communist country, be thankful that you live in a country so big, so beautiful, so large, that you can accommodate the biggest population in the world with the money. And the fact is that the Chinese, what can they do? They've done everything there is. They're the greatest farmers, the greatest cooks, the cleanest race on the face of this earth, and the happiest at times. They learn martial arts, but they also use martial arts and taekwondo and things for the exercise, to relieve stress. They move so slowly and go through so motionless, and yet, even though this is for defense, it's for their own health. It's just relieve their own stress. It's a wonderful martial art. I told you how to be training. Want everybody trained in Kempo. But what is Kempo? Kempo doesn't allow the show off fighting. Challenges, fighting each other. It merely shows you the strikes that you make. The strikes that you make to disarm, maim, to break a bone, dislocate. But it's a form of art to stop the fight. That I'm not trying to teach anything evil here, and I'm not God, but I'm trying to understand why this world does not want heaven on earth. They don't want to have free education. They don't want to have the right to have children. They don't want to have children. Well, they will if they want huge rewards. Besides that, you'll have help. You'll have daycare, free daycare, free nannies in the home when you want them. That's for the calling. This is what I'm saying. God's not trying to be a burden on any of us. He just wants to be. He's a playful God. All gods play. They play with the unborn all the time. Because I'm autistic, we've never left that playful world of being with our own blood children in our bloodline. Because we see sometimes when you see us go off and la 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 and do all this imagining, who do you think we're talking to? Who do you think we're seeing? Who do you think we're enjoying our lives with? When we're staring with the stare glazed eyes, and we think that being autistic is a curse, is a disease. No, it's not. It's a blessing. So the people like Einstein, that they have severe autism, he didn't get there on his own. God gave him challenges every time he turned around, like giving somebody a harder and harder Sudoku problem to solve. They give God in his family too. They were all involved because I'm sure Einstein's family was being challenged too to come up with the answers by God. And they cheer him on and give him hints on how to solve the problem too. They were highly involved. The Dalai Lama. You don't realize that these are your own ancestors that you supposedly are looking for by other people. I'm just trying to make sense of this whole thing. What is the world fighting for? Doesn't matter. Like I said, when you go to it matters. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter to anybody. You're going to get all the money you want. You're going to get the free education you want. The thing is, people are not each other's friends in a sense. We all have families, and we all have to be protective of our own people first, our lives first. Respectful. How do you say respectful? Not nervous about our life. Respectful of letting everybody create their own thing without you trying to butt into somebody else's business. You got your own life to live. It's even written in your books in the Bible. It says, take your beam out of your own eye before you take the splinter out of another. These are the things that we're missing. Having a pastor, even a priest, to make your confessions to is a third party between you and God. Totally unnecessary. What I do admire about the Catholic Church is they're because they do serve God. They spend their whole life serving God as nuns, as priests. In their own lives, even as married people, they devoted their lives to God, and they are. But they've been misinformed. These people have misinformed you and took advantage of this fact. From the creation of, say, the Catholic Church. The one thing that Christians believe in is thou shalt not kill, yet they got the religion that killed more people than anybody else. The only one that might be I don't know, in comparison, will be Mao Zedong, except for the Christians were the Catholic Church were Christians supposedly, God's chosen people. No, this can't be. Exterminators being God's chosen people. Think about it. What right do you have to interfere with anybody else's life? We're not here to create heaven to be anything resembling the world as it is today. Think about what it was supposed to be like when it was in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were walking this earth. They were just naming people. Adam would name people and they had to create a language. They created a language that in fact is still being spoken today. Not everybody knows it. I can tell you one person that did know, one of the last people that I know that was speaking the language of Adam and Eve. He's not the last, I'm sure, but I got to go to Iraq to find out. It was Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein tried to rebuild Nebuchadnezzar the second's palace, and he was trying to bring the world up to date on who the Iraqis are. They're the children of Noah. The children of Noah. They have 37 trunks that came from Methuselah that was put on the ark. They're the only ones that can read the documents and papers, even letters of Adam and Eve all the way up. Letters written by Seth, Enos, his son, Kenan, his next son. They were both blacksmiths. Seth was a blacksmith, so was Enos, so was Kenan. Why were they there? Because they had to make plowshares. They had to make knives. They were hunters, and they were also farmers. And they were very intelligent. I mean, because back then they listened to God. They were very, very intelligent. In the days before the flood, they were even making stainless steel. That's pounding steel down so hard, pressing it down so hard, and it's so dense and hardened. That's just taking normal iron and pounding it out and getting the impurities out until pounding it out until it is stainless steel. Yes, they even made that in those days. By the knowledge of the angels, they were able to take just regular knowledge of iron, and they did a lot of things because the angels told them how during the time when the Nephilim run crazy. But these are things that I don't need to be talking about right now. I'm talking about heaven on earth. They were far more intelligent back then than they are today in a lot of ways. We have to understand that we cannot be like a repeat of this world. Now we know who our enemies were and are. Ourselves. By talking to others, wanting others in your business. Not paying attention to God at all. We're not being busy, idleness, or being lazy. These are things that separate us from God. And we've made these mistakes. We can be living like the Jetsons on the Jetson cartoon. You know, where the police are in the hovercraft and the ambulance are in the hovercraft. Not like the Flintstones where you have to paddle with your feet to get your car to go. We're talking about the Jetsons. We could be in the Jetson age, not the Flintstone age. It's just a thing that we have to use our imaginations and create. We got a stockpile of nuclear material waste that God put here on purpose because we haven't been smart enough to know what to do with it. Yet this same, why I got to talk to the Chinese? The Chinese uh, uh, have, have to, I had to put them to building a home nuclear plant that can be air cooled, not cooled by water, salts, or any corrosives. That's free from that. That will run at least 30 years before it has to be replaced, giving you full power in your house over air conditioners, so over your water, swimming pools, uh, your refrigerator, your stove, your washer, your dryer. Enough electricity that you can have anything going on in your life, and you don't have to worry about running wires to your neighbor's house or to a grid. This is our potential, and it's not far away. It's right here. We already have this technology going on right now. It's already being done in Alaska, and it's being done in Canada with safe generation. But they're still doing it with. They haven't done it. They're still doing it in a type of a city situation, not to the separate home. They still want everybody in the neighborhood to benefit from a small nuclear plant, which is far too big when we could put it on an individual basis. Then we could plug in our electric vehicles in our own homes to go anywhere we want to go. How rich is the richest country going to be when we don't have to use oil? Saudi Arabia, how wealthy are you going to be? You have no other minerals or anything to sell. You have the only thing you have is sand and oil. You're the poorest country there is. Nothing to offer. But you guys have things to live by. You got your oil that you can live by. That's true, but you don't have to take as much out of the ground. Take a drop compared to what you've been doing. Is just a drop, which it'll take to run for you to run your own cars, gasoline, run on gasoline, run on high, you know, muscle cars, whatever you want to do. You can dream with that and have your racetracks. If people want that kind of thing, they can go to Saudi Arabia and have the giant muscle cars to run on the races. Yes, you can have this. You can make it a tourist attraction where people that want to drive muscle cars and the best cars in the world are still running on things. Yes, do it. You got oil. Might as well turn it into a tourist attraction. What else you got? You got sunlight. Oh my God, you got plenty of sunlight and wind. You have so much energy that you have. There's no reason why you can't have Las Vegas in Arabia. You don't have to have the Hoover Dam to provide you electricity when you have so much wind and you have so much sun and so much time. Build the biggest gambling casino resorts that there is in the world in Saudi Arabia. Everybody want to go to Saudi Arabia in air-conditioned buildings because you have so much power. You got to use your oil anyway, so you can use your own fuels. But hopefully you use clean fuels. When I was in Burundi, they used kerosene, clean kerosene that you could run in the household to run their nuclear, their electric generating plants and their cars and diesel trucks. It's yes, instead of diesel, they're using a high quality kerosene that has no contaminants coming out of it. That's because Belgium insists on the cleanest fuels being there that they don't have air pollution and mess up the environment. Belgium also must be the leader in keeping things clean because they don't have trash, and if they don't have trash, they don't have flies. There's also a very limited amount of animals, which one that's a good thing. Use the vehicles to carry things, not the animals to carry things. Let the animals be born naturally, away from each other, not in big groups. And you can spay and neuter animals. We don't have to be having so many animals just so that we can kill them, or they can treat them like they're nothing, and they can die a horrible death and cage them. Make them a valuable commodity in life to have as friends. Yes, that's what a lot of people do with their animals now, and it's a great thing to have animals. If you're going to send to your animals, but what I'm, you got to, if it becomes a thing where you got to torture animals or treat them bad. Hunting animals too. We have to hunt if you're not going to eat it. Then why would you kill it? The Eskimos and native cultures take what they need. They smoke it, they dry it, they freeze it, and they take what they need for only what they need. They're very respectful and thankful for the lives of animals. We have to be the same way with our own lives, with human lives, concerned with everybody, every human being's life. Not to wish anybody dead, not to wish anybody harm, but to promote life. Outlaw hunting. We don't have to even outlaw hunting in this sense. Why make a law? If everybody in the world just says no, that's why you have your phone with your facial recognition and you go at your vote. When you do, they they stop you. Let the world, your country people, the people of your state, your neighborhood, your country, stop you and give you a warning. Boom, slap you on the hand. That you understand you can't do these things anymore. They don't have to put you in thing for life. Just let you know that God is in control, and the people are collectively, God is in control because everybody's become the hands and feet and mouth of God. So we don't. The police shouldn't have a hard job. Neither, and people shouldn't. Being part of the police won't be able to just say, "Well, let the police handle that." No, they're part of the police force. You see what I'm saying? That's what God has figured out everything. It's what I can't comprehend is how you people, this world, is not ready and thankful that God has finally come up with a solution to circumvent Bitcoin, to circumvent the economies of the world. We're not here to take away the money. We're here to increase money because God's coins will be worth the currency that you have currently running in your country. That's not going to stop. But right away, as soon as Bitcoin trades for a God's coin, it's going to be worth 66,000 American dollars. But if you haven't got a Bitcoin to trade for a God's coin, guess what? It's going to cost Americans $66,000. That means that the dollar, the price, the worth of the dollar goes down considerably because it's got competition from it was Bitcoin. Now it's got competition with God's coin. And after the first year, because I'm getting the duplicate God's coin, I'll have so much money, I'll be the richest man in the world. But I don't tend to keep it. When I can, I will pay off the national debt, $34 trillion, starting in America. I'll pay off the national debt in Bujumbura. I think it's maybe $18 billion. I'll pay off the debt in the Congo. Each country, the poorest countries in line, be paying off the national debt. So every country knows they want to be next. Whoa, they're going to be looking for us and want to be next. Then I pay off their national debt, and they'll have the riches of the world. That's how it's going to work. By example, because I'm not just going to every country at once. I'm going to each country to be the example to the next. As I go to countries, I spend 28 days to deliver each country separately at a time so that they know. And I'll go in the order God sends me. That's why I'll spend 25 days in each month, and every country will be expecting me, hopefully. They'll get to the point where they're expecting me. Yes, I'll go to Egypt. And hopefully, when I get to Egypt, that website gets done, the website gets done, and the website is in Arabic, Egyptian, and Arabic, and it's taken the dinar and Egyptian. The only thing I got to do is tell those people, please, get the God's coin. Get the God's coin. For one Egyptian dollar or one dinar. They want to be equal. Not in their country. Because in their country, in Egypt, there's 49 Egyptian pounds to the dollar. And you understand that there's to the God's coin, they're getting a God's coin per Egyptian franc, Egyptian pound. That's basically like 50 God's coins for a dollar. They're going to get 50 God's coins per dollar. The United States is going to have to pay $6,000 for one God's coin. It works itself out. As I go to each country, should be shutting down within the time I meet them. One after another, but I can't get there hardly fast enough. But it'll be where the world will understand by watching each country shut down, one after another, behind each other. What's going to happen? The United States is the first country to get in warning because I speak English. I'm offering the God's coin because most Americans have God's coin. People that own a big Bitcoin are a good portion of them are English speaking, and know at least, and no matter what they think, they know their Bitcoin is worth $66,000 in whatever currency they want. I've got to make this thing. I can't understand this world. This is not rocket science. Yet this is what I'm going to offer the world, and I'm going to be going after the churches of the world. Find out what's their deal. I'm going to challenge them. I've told you, I'll go behind doors. I'll ask them the first two questions. Where is God? And where is heaven? And I don't want the stuff like God's in heaven. You say, where's heaven? Well, heaven's where God lives. This stuff doesn't cut it. We're not playing child's games here. Because the reality is, I'm saying God is life. I'm talking to you. You got life, you're living. I told you in the way God's told me in the last 20 years since I've been speaking in tongues. He says, Kaputai. Ai, internal energy is the name I give it. God gives his approval to that. Whether that was intentions, I don't know. But I say, it's pretty cool. His name is Ai. Internal energy. Everybody here has got internal energy. There's no atheists here. There's no theory here, no theorizing. You all got DNA, you all got family living within you. Christians say, Lord's Prayer, Our Father which art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Where the heck's heaven? Our Father, God, which art in heaven. You're in our DNA. You're in our living body. Basically, he's not in our DNA. He's in our body. Our Father, which art in heaven, it means us. We are a temple. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom we will come. We came into this kingdom. We were born into his kingdom. Thy will be done. Why aren't we doing God's will? Why do we think we can do anything we want to do when you're living in a planet next to other people that you have no right to interfere with? Why do you think that you can do whatever you want when you're accountable to every human being on this planet, and you're actually accountable to every animal on this planet? You're accountable to the way you treat plants and the way you treat trees. You're accountable to everything. And that means you're accountable to life. You understand what I'm saying? You're accountable to life. Sure, you got to water plants. You got to worry about when plants die. You're accountable to animals. Why do you mess with animals? Why do you kill animals for pleasure? So the Catholic Church, I told you guys in other ways, I told it that the Catholic Church has in their newest uh, version of the Bible that all things were created for man's pleasure, our pleasure. No, we were supposed to be caretakers of this world. Adam was put here to be a caretaker of this world. Eve was put here as his mate to do the same thing. We were caretakers as his help to help take care of this world. We're not supposed to be killing animals, except for what we need if we're going to eat them. And who's to say that we can't eat meat? God loves bacon. I can tell you that right now. He likes beer. I was in Egypt and couldn't buy beer, yet that's where beer was invented. How can you say that an Egyptian Muslim or Islamic person in Egypt, they can't drink beer? But that's exactly what Pharaoh Mene did. Pharaoh Mene was the first pharaoh. In Abydos, they built his temple, and that's in Upper Egypt. Upper Egypt is actually where you would think it'd be Lower Egypt, but it's Upper Egypt because the Nile flows backwards. It flows to the Mediterranean from south to north. So Lower Egypt is actually in the Mediterranean. Southern Egypt is actually right next to Nubia. What was in Nubia that was so important, so big that why they become so wealthy? Because there was gold there. There was gold and there's so many riches. It's the people in southern Egypt, where Ramses was, where Mene was, where Nefertiti was. All these first leaders of the, well, actually not Nefertiti, but you understand? Yes, Nefertiti too. But what I'm saying, their temples are in the Upper Nile, Upper Egypt, or the Lower Nile, but the Upper Egypt. Upper Egypt. Well, that makes sense. The first Egypt, because the Nile flows backwards, and that's where, because they had the riches, they had the gold, they had granite, not just limestone, but they had granite to build with. That's why the most fantastic buildings that were built in Upper Egypt, because of the granite. They had to row it. I mean, they didn't row it. They just had to float it downstream. Cut the huge blocks of granite and float it downstream towards the Mediterranean to build the Great Pyramid. and Compra's pyramid next to it. This, everything it makes sense to you when we say, but this is what the world needs to go after facts and think about the real things. We're clouding our minds with mushkala, these other theories. We're creating our own problems. That is the word mushkala, what it means. Problems. Separate our knowledges. Instead of getting smarter, we're getting dumber because we're listening. We become authors of our own thinking, and we're not that smart. Einstein wasn't that smart. Gandhi wasn't that smart. I've explained that. If they never knew where God was or never understood God, they couldn't have been that smart. Even their formulas, E equals mc squared. No, E equals God. And you could say mass times thing. Oh, that's a genius. No, it's not. The mass might be constant to us. That would change if God changed the gravity of the world, which He has done before. It also it would change if God changed the speed of light, the orbit of the planets, how far it is from the sun, how close it is to the sun, its rotations. You know what I'm saying? These things have changed through the years, so we can't. We're predicting and saying this. Even carbon dating has to be questioned. We just, instead of asking God for answers, we're asking ourselves, trying to be the smart ones. That's got to get rid of that thinking, and we got to start talking and teaching the right things. Prove what we have before we say it and teach it. Prove it. Remember the proof I talked about in the 2 Timothy 3:16 in the Bible? Document your meeting that's going to have if you're going to talk about God. Then show your side of it. Show your proof. Then let's talk about it. Let's debate it. Let's come to an understanding before you ever teach it. Let this world start thinking about what it says, and we don't have to stay in constant communication or be teaching each other these things either. Things that we don't know, theorizing. Because they're just people that create the belief. People in Jonestown, they killed each other in mass suicide because of this Jones guy. Because he convinced them to commit Jew. Whether he convinced them or did it by trickery, he still, all those people died. People in Texas, when they all died together as a cult. These cults, these groups. I don't even care if you're a Hell's Angel, because when I worked with the Hell's Angels, I had no respect for the Hell's Angels, but they were my friends. They still are. Because I can tell any Hell's Angel, I don't care who you are, the baddest one there is, come on, let's go over there. Let's have a talk by yourself. You're nothing without your people. You're absolutely nothing without your people. You can't even go around without wearing the same patch. You can't think for yourself. I used to challenge them. Come on, let's go over there. Let's talk behind that building because you are one of the ones to be left standing. Yeah, I used to tell one sat. No, there was only a couple that took me up on the offer, and they did beat me, but I earned their respect. The other ones didn't meet me, and they learned a lesson. I didn't kill nobody, but you can see I'm still alive. I didn't offend them to the point where they come hunting me because they were a leader or they were a Hell's Angel. In fact, I had these guys. I could tell you stories and stories and stories about the Hell's Angels, waiting for me to come off work to tell them little cute stories. They also waited for me to tell them what happened because I used to carry a stuffed animal with me on my travels, and it stayed in the room called roadkill. And the lady that cleaned my room, the maid that cleaned my room every day, she write a little note. She would put my roadkill on the toilet, or put him up there watching TV or something. And she always, on her little slip, she'd start writing the story. And these guys couldn't wait the next day to hear what she had written on the little book. I had that little book for the longest time. Don't know what happened to it, but it's part of my life. And Hell's Angels worried about what a stuffed animal's what was roadkill doing last night? What was roadkill doing? These are Hell's Angels, my God. They want to hear the stories, the stories I tell about my father. When I actually was flying a plane and learning how to fly a plane. The first time I went up in the plane, and I got in an argument with the instructor that was there because I was flying by a stick, and he's telling me, if you've ever been inside a plane and you've been a pilot, you know that the dashboard is so high that you can't see the runway. You can't look down. So I'm pushing the stick forward to get the plane to slant so I can see the runway. Doesn't work that way. You speeds up the plane, but you're trying to slow down. So you got to pull back on the stick to slow it down. So we got in a tug of war. He was in the back seat with the same kind of stick, but then he's pulling it back as I'm trying to push it forward because I want to see where I'm going. And we ended up hitting the tail wheel so hard that the plane bounced over on the runway, and it almost ate the propeller. Almost looked like a Three Stooges thing. And when it ended up, the plane was like this, and then finally, boop, it fell. The towers is shocking. You guys gonna make it? You guys gonna make it? Are you gonna be all right? And then it plopped down on its tail wheel. Finally, it was up straight up and down. Like in a comedy. And then it finally pops down on this tail wheel, and the guy quit his job. He said no more. And he was some kind of German guy. He had a German accent, and he kept on saying, "Put your foot on the ball. Put your foot on the ball. Put your foot." Because a plane will actually turn itself around like a spinning a plate. If you put a chalk mark on look at it in a microwave. You see the plate on that's when something spins like that. That's called yaw. And you don't realize it's happening, but your plane could actually start flying backwards if you let yaw go too far. That's why you have your foot on the floorboards, what they call the rudder, to keep that from happening, because your plane starts turning like it's inside a microwave around this way. That's another direction besides up and down. You see what I'm saying? This is called pitch when it goes up and down. Yaw, which is controlled by your feet. And then you got your banking, where you turn side to side to make your turns. These are four different directions going on here. Pitch, yaw, your ailerons, and then you got your attitude. What I'm saying, I never got my pilot's license because the guy quit. And when I did finally get where my last thing, I had took my cross country. I didn't do my cross country flight. I actually got certified on a plane that had flaps, so I could slow down with flaps, and I could see where I'm going with inside a Cherokee Warrior. And I flew around all the day to get my hours to get past that certification, but I never could afford to do the cross country flight, so I never became a pilot. Everything I've done in my life is because God has ordained it. He knew my life. He knew where I'd be right now. This is the things that you guys don't know about me. But everybody's got stories in their life that connected the same way. I'm nobody special. Start connecting the stories of your life. But I think that's why God put me in with the some of the meanest and baddest people in the world, and they want to talk to me. I didn't want to talk to them. They came to me. When my boss come to me the first day, and he had that tattoo on right here on his arm, long hair and a braid, one long braid and stuff, and he's looking at me. He tells me, "I'm your boss," and I looked at him. I said, "You a biker?" Then I said, "Are you a Hell's Angel?" Well, he just stared again, like lowered his eyes and rolled his eyes at me, and I said, "What kind of Honda do you have?" I was fired that second. I didn't get very far away before he says, "Get your ass back here," because he had a problem that I had to solve, and I solved that problem. It took an hour, 45 minutes to an hour for me to figure out the problem because God had to talk to me. But we solved the problem, and within 3 days, I did something that they couldn't spend a whole month trying to figure out. Well, I got the job done. Not without by my own self. It was God that told me how to solve the problem. They weren't thinking about that, how to do it. This particular thing had blades that couldn't even fit on a 40-foot flatbed truck. These huge things that were almost 60 foot long, 20 foot would hang over the side of almost 4-inch steel that was 2 foot high. 40 foot long. You don't think that thing weighed up? And it was cut like a saw with teeth in it all the way along. So it was like 2 foot, 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot before the teeth, and then the teeth would come and they had like saw teeth on it. These things were 60 foot long, and they were already bit because they hung over on the trucks. Naturally, when they stacked them that way, instead of being flat on the ground, they were crooked. They were bent. They had to be placed in actual saddles that had to work on a rack to make them saw. How do you take things that are 4 inches thick steel that's 3 foot tall, the weight of these things, and how do you straighten them out? Well, the first solution is flip them over. So they'll actually go back to the same, at least halfway straighten out. Take the whole pile and flip it over. That was the first. That was to build a strong back beam that hooks to a giant crane. That hooks two straps in the middle, on the outside, and one in the middle. This beam that had a lot of beams holding down with little saddles to go underneath this seal and be picked up level and straight so they could be set. Once I got this jig made and the big crane picking them up, it went like boom, 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 boom. And we had 10 set before we had to take lunch. It was like, wow, this is genius, Joe. It was not genius. God just showed me the problem. First off, it had to be flipped over to try to at least get halfway straightened out. Then I had to build one long beam with a lot of hookups and brackets to go on and hold each one straight so that we can set these things. There was like 60 of these things to set. It's called a cooling bed that throws billets in a steel mill forward each time they would roll, because when these things roll, the billets, you have one set that's lifting another set in between. Boom, 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 boom. Throwing it tooth to tooth. Billets are 9-inch by 9-inch steel billets that are 60 foot long. Well, actually, what the size of the cooling bed would be 80 foot. Makes no difference how long it would be. These steels will come out red hot at the beginning, and then they get colder every time they move back a tooth. They're that much further away from being coming out of the furnace. By the end, they were kind of cooling up to hook it up. They get hooked up and they get stacked. These 9-inch billets get stacked in a cross thing. So many down this way, and then put the next stack going that way, and then the next stack this way until they got stacks of iron that's cooling, ready to go to real steel mills called billets. This is the kind of work that we did. I was also one that built the overhead cranes, put them together, and put them up there on the railroad tracks that would direct other cranes. I was the operator and also thing. I get me very well respected for what we were doing. I enjoyed so many people, the Navajo Indians too. They were my friends. The Hells Angels were my friends. So was the Navajo Indians. They taught me words I was never supposed to know. They don't exactly like to teach their language to nobody. But I learned a little bit. No so bad words, but the point of the matter is I learned so lots about the Navajo, and they are very how do you say, they're special people in their beliefs. Their spiritual beliefs is way beyond what we could comprehend. In their world is a spiritual world, and the evil is like a tornado. It attracts. When you get closer it'll suck you in like a tornado. So when you see evil, you back away from evil. They don't necessarily blame any man for his actions, except for the fact that he got caught up in a bad wind that sucked him in. So when they see a person getting sucked into evil, instead of us being attracted to it, they stay back from it and don't get sucked in. And they pray for the person that's being caught in the wind to try to help them get out. This is a reality, a real reality. Whether you know it or not, I mean, the Indians are on to something. That this is the way evil does. It sucks us in. You being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A woman getting raped because she's on the streets at 2:00 in the morning. What's she doing on the streets at 2:00 in the morning? She's looking for trouble. Driving through a wrong neighborhood. Being on the wrong side of life. Dealing with the wrong people in life. These are things that are common. This is not belief. It's not rocket science. We spend too much time messing around and nothing to do, nothing better to do. When God gives us all the God's coin, and you have so much money, you're going to be moving faster than you ever had before. You're going to go party when you want to. You're going to build businesses like you get never did. You're going to build your home. You're going to it's just creation. You're not going to be interested in your friends because they're going to be busy as you are. Everybody's going to be busy. If they're not busy, they're going to be sleeping. Okay? This is what's going to be in the world. It's going to be free education, free health care, free daycare, a free nanny, for God's sake, in the home if you want to work continuously. God just wants to make sure that the person that's born is raised good. That's what God wants, because that's what keeps us, God, living, your family living, your unborn living. They're living within you until they are born. God didn't take the time, doesn't have enough time to worry about you later. When He picked your parents, He also created you, looking at your parents. He knew what they looked like then, and you're a reflection of what God's image as He saw you. Looked at both of your parents, and He created you when He decided who your parents would be. Then He, through His life, He had to make your parents' lives cross paths. Maybe 15 years later, 20 years later, 17 years later, 30 years later. He had to have that. When your mother and father finally put together, like it says in Psalms 139, when you it says when you was created, God was there. He knew when your parents created you. He invited the father in, said, "Come on, I've been waiting for you. Come on, get in." And he gave life to you. He didn't really give life to you. You're the embryo in your mother. That's true. But that's when the DNAs came in. The DNA of your father came into the DNA of your mother, and that's when it was conceived with the life, because you was already inside the DNA. But now you're being reborn. You was being reborn. You're no longer a child living in your bloodstream of the way God created you with your same looks. The closest thing you'll have to looking like God is look in the mirror at yourself. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're what God created you to look at the image that He saw when He looked at both your parents, when He decided, even as children in kindergarten, what you was going to look like. That's got to make some kind of sense to everybody in this world. It's not, these are facts, not theology. The heck with theology. Theorizing's got to leave. Suspicion and everything, keep that to yourself until you prove it. Able to prove it. And then do that behind closed doors, or do that thing. Let's have your debates not in front of the whole world, like so that everybody can believe it in your theory, rather than let's talk about what proof that you have of what you say after it's been talked about together with your peers. Even the word theology is stupid. It's saying theory. My God, we believed in everything there is in the world, and we created our gods to look like anything that we could conjure up, rather than believe that God is life and the energy that we even speak by, breathe by, think by, talk by. I gotta go now, but this is the message that God wanted to talk to y'all. And He might want to talk to you 20 times a day, and I'll make that many videos. It doesn't make no difference. It's people will start listening to God, and He'll have a captive audience when it comes to God's coin. In order for everybody to have God's coin, everybody's got to use their hands, feet, mouth. Give God hands, feet, and a mouth. Just like I am. I'm God's hands, feet, and mouth. To the Muslims, when I go there, I'm Washir, Wasus, Allah. The messenger, the minister, the messenger of God. Wasus is messenger. Washir, it means I'm a wasir. I'm a wasir with a Z. I'm reminded of it. Wasir, Wasus means messenger. Allah. Wasir, Wasus, Allah. Says good night.